Welcome back. In the first video, we started with some of the basic structures for creating queries. In this video, we're picking up where we left off, expanding these queries using more dates, calculations, more joins, and a few other tricks. We really want to let SQL do the heavy lifting and creating some of these basic summaries for us because we want more control over the data and we want traceability so that when and if enhancements are requested, we only have one place to go. By the end of this video, you'll do just that. Let's get started. Okay, we're going to jump right in with adding our date function here. In addition to the salary flag, we want to know anyone who was hired after January 2009. All right, so that's the month and the day. So let's go ahead and execute that query. If we look down here, we have 39 rows, right? But what if we have a criteria where we have a set period of time? We need to restrict it. I could have actually left that there. So I want to put the, I want to end it. I can actually just copy and paste this, right? Actually, let's make that to the end of the year. Let's see what this tells us. Okay, we've got 18 rows there. So the first one was, okay, like a catch-all. We have a specific date. Maybe we only need that to just tell us, okay, after this particular period, that's when a certain law went into effect, and we need to see these volumes. But now we have a restrictive time period, the beginning of the year, 2009, and the end. And you would do something like this if it was an ad hoc situation, a one-time report. I would recommend something a little bit more flexible than hard coding, but if you're a junior analyst, sometimes we'll have existing code that you have to adjust, and you would go right here where you have the where clause and you would make these adjustments. So again, it just depends on what is happening in that department or how they have data structured, or if you're managing an existing query. If you are migrating, you might see something like this where you have a query on SQL Server. They're going to automate it, but when it was initially built, it was had something like this here. So it's a bit of a manual process, but it does work for us. Next, we want to go ahead and see how many folks fall into a certain criteria with their vacation hours. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this if I can grab it. Okay. Know how many folks have more than 80 hours of vacation? Now, why would a business ask a question like that? Now, it could be, and we're going to remove this salary flag here for just a moment. We're going to change this to an O and see if we can get more values. It could be that it's October, November, and it's approaching the end of the year, and we don't want folks, if they're at a company where they'll forfeit their time, to lose their time. And so this type of report is super useful in flagging that in a timely manner, so that folks can go ahead and take advantage of their PTO and or decide if they're going to sell it. Okay, next up, we're going to go ahead and start to add some more rows of data to this report. So we're going to go ahead and start to add additional tables actually here. So we're going to do, let's see, the persons table. And we want to actually grab that address because we're going to be adding some additional fields from there. We're going to call that BE. And then the P, let's see, that actually joins on the business entity. I'm going to explain all of this. It's going to make sense as we go further. I'm going to go ahead and then add the address field. Oh, what did I do here? Did I leave something? Okay, and I need to make sure that I've got this here. Okay. Address A. Start to get the hang of this pattern here. And the address ID needs to be equal to the address ID in this table. So we've got these primary keys here. These are all primary keys. Like, what is she doing? This is typical amount of tables. That you'll find, and this is just really a small amount actually. It starts off simple and then it gets complicated when we start coding, but no worries here, not to be worried. You see that red line right there? The reason why it's doing that is because we need to add the table that it's supposed to be coming from. So again, those red lines are our helper lines. Resources table, we're going to grab that. We're going to go and look at the employee pay history here. We're going to name it first, PH. See, we've got the business entity ID key here. And in here we have the business entity ID key here. So we've added our tables. Now, not every table is going to have a field, but we'll need it because to get from one table to the next. So this was an easy one for us, made sense. We grabbed fields from this. This business entity address table is here. It's joining on the business entity. And oh, by the way, we need to make sure that this is on P, right? So, right, so we have that there. So the P table here, that is our person table. But we can't just pull information out of the person table and go directly to the address because it does not have our primary key. So this is just a table that has primary keys in it. And so I'm just explaining that to you because sometimes you'll start to code and you can't go from one table directly to the other. There'll be a middle table that's there that houses the primary key in which you can join. So you'll have this. So you won't be actually using anything out of this table but to make the connection between these two tables. This ST is the state province. That's what that means. And then this PH, of course, is the employee history table. So let's go ahead and start grabbing some fields, adding to this right here. We want to now pull in our rate. So and it comes from the employee history table. So I named it that, and look at here. Look what we've got here. We've got our rate there. Now since I added it here and I already have the existing query, I'm going to want to go ahead and add this into this. Sorry. Let's go ahead and then go down here. And we're going to do a little something with the rates. That's fun. We want to see the rates as it is, but we also want to go ahead and have some fun. I'm going to do the round function in here and see what that looks like. We want to times, we're going to do the rate here, assuming that they work 40 hours. I'm going to call this weekly. We're going to go ahead and do a yearly rate here too. 280 hours. And we're going to do this as the yearly rate. So we can actually do a formula right in there. And let's see if we run this without issues. Okay, so we have our weekly, we have our yearly rate here, right? And then what we want to do here is maybe we want to take this out and see how many folks are in the salary bracket of over $50,000 here. Do 50. Okay, see how I'll just swap that out. So now this is a different report, really based on salary. So here we have our weekly rate, our yearly rate, and we also have our criteria of salaries that are over 50,000. Got 13 rows here. We also have our begin and end start date on here. Another thing that we can do for a view is then go ahead and see if we can summarize this. What we want to do with these calculations is let SQL do the heavy lifting of the work, which is the purpose of this. I'm trying to do a lot more work with the code. So I'm going to take this, and you're going to see me take out a lot of this information. All right. So I'm going to get rid of this. And we're going to create a simplified version of this. What if they're just interested now in the weekly and yearly rates and maybe a count? All right. I don't need the hire date anymore. Maybe I just want to see how many employees. We'll just leave this in here. Oops. Let me get this job title in here. See how many employees. Anytime you are doing anything with the space, you want to add those brackets and, of course, add the commas down here. So what I'm going to do is take out all this stuff here. Let's see. Take that out. Let's just see what we come up with here. All right. So this is a simplified version. If you had just wanted to do a count there and you still wanted to see who the folks were, but we didn't want to add all of that detail, it'd be interesting to see if we can get the salary number. Let's see what we have. Okay, so you have your accountants here. So for more robust data for this set, you have 15 rows, and we have this number of accountants with this weekly rate and yearly rate here. So we can go on and on and on. You can also go, as I mentioned before, do the descending order. And there you have a query with multiple tables in it. We also have been able to introduce the round function, the count function in here, and a calculation there. So we have a nice, neat little report, and what we can do is now copy and paste this data into an Excel spreadsheet. As you can see, I have data there, and I want to copy it with the headers. And look what we have here. There you go. Here are companies and positions that are requiring SQL. Take a look, and I'll see you in the next one.